As well as I welcome all the participants who uh, who are online with this particular program to know about the outcome-based education as well as NBA accreditation process. So, on the behalf of the institute, I welcome all of you. Now, I feel proud and privileged to introduce our chief guest, who is a man of deep wisdom, who has worked a lot, not in only in India but also in abroad. Now, as far as the our chief guest is concerned, his focus is to grow the custom-based profit margins and ensure the operational effectiveness while driving the implementation of the policies and the standards that align with the company's vision as well as the business philosophy. Now, he has already worked in USA for 6 years, in which for the particular 5 years, he was offshore, outside, on-site project management and having the architect experience also. Now, he's also a founder of a software company and the startup, which has been created the new revenues and the clients from the different countries, and is able to by doing that, he's handling the strategic and the tactical planning, profit and loss management, budgeting, commercial negotiations, operational management, brand management, product management, etc. As far as the technical skills are concerned, he is having hand-on experience and the proficient understanding of the SharePoint, MS Dynamics CRM 2013, Sitecore, SharePoint, Big Data, MS Projects, Net 2.0, 3.5, Dynamic NAV, open source, Agile, Scrum, a lot of, as well as the cloud infrastructure is concerned. He's already having technical ownership of the product, including the responsibility for the technology roadmap, rich functionality, architect, robust performance, scalability, and the quality of the product. As far as the management of the project is concerned, he's already having more than 5 years experience of the project management of complex multi-locational projects, lead to a team of bid managers, solution architect developers, designers, database architects, and COE personnel also. As far as the entrepreneurial skills are concerned, he is already having a founder of www.hijobs.in as well as www.jackass.in. Now, as far as the pre-sales skills are concerned, which is already inherited within our chief guest, that is, it is being driven and the showcase business values from the technology-based structural quality findings, and thus maps it to a business case that would satisfy the return of investment for an investment with the prospects and end customers. It already worked on RFP as well as pre-sales activities. So with these few words, I extend my warm welcome to our chief guest, who is a man, as I have already said, he's a man of deep wisdom, deep and a vast experience, with which, of course, I'm sure that the participants who are within this faculty development program will be benefited by the wisdom of our chief guest. Once again, I welcome all of you, all the participants, and request all the participants that, as you know, that the outcome-based education and the NBA accreditation is the need of technical education right now. So we have to be very sure ourselves that we must take inputs from this particular workshop and implement in their own as well as in their technological institute. Thank you very much. Over to Ankur.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now may I request Mr. Santosh Kumar Tripathi, sir, who is the Director HR of Buddha Institute of Technology, to welcome our chief guest as well as the guest of honor, because Dr. Buddha Chandrasekhar will be the chief guest also, and he is also the guest of honor and a keynote speaker of this FDP. Over to you, sir, Mr. Santosh Kumar Tripathi, sir. Please, sir.
Thank you, Ankur, for giving me this opportunity to welcome our honorable chief guest as well as the guest of honor. including the key speaker, Dr. N. Guruprasad sir, as well as I take this opportunity to welcome Honorable Director of Buddha Institute of Technology, Dr. Sudhir Agrawal sir, as well as all the participants. It's very imperative to conduct an FDP on the very relevant topic, that is outcome-based education. Actually, outcome-based education is a student-centered educational model that maps and measures the student's performance at every step of the learning. It aims to maximize the learning outcomes by developing students' knowledge and skills, and it also helps the institutes to raise the education standard and helps students to acquire the accreditation from the esteemed organization like NBA. So it is our privilege and pleasure to have the gracious presence of Dr. Buddha Chandrasekhar, our today's guest of honor, as well as key native speaker. Dr. Chandrasekhar is, yes, actually a very distinguished technocrat, educational and entrepreneur. He has earned his business management degree from University of Maryland and had been in the US for 6 years on the various assignments. And currently, as our director mentioned, he is currently the Chief Coordinating Officer at AICTE. So once again, I welcome you, sir, to help us gain the insight about the outcome-based education, and the audience is also. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santosh Kumar Tripathi, sir. Now, may I request our chief guest, Dr. Buddha Chandrasekhar, Chief Coordinating Officer of AICTE, to have few words for this FDP and for our participants. Please, sir, I hand over this platform to you, sir. Dr. Buddha Chandrasekhar.
Thank you all, and good morning to everyone. Can you please allow me to share my screen?
Sir, yes, sir. 1 minute.
I hope you all are safe in this COVID pandemic period. I mean, I see a tremendous change in education, teaching, and methodologies, during this pandemic push. I mean, student was literally pushed, we pushed students, maybe that's the right word, to go on a remote mode and in a digital, way of learning. I think the education institutes as well as the students became more reliant on technology than ever before. I think as the higher education institutes generate and disseminate knowledge, therefore an integrated and technology-driven systems, which is become a key, not only for learning, for exercising research activities also. And the topic given to me was entrepreneurship. So I will try to, focus more on entrepreneurship and what kind of opportunities we have in this world. I mean, after COVID pandemic, what kind of opportunities we have in this world, the entire globe, and what are the emerging technologies, and how the faculty can be an entrepreneur, how a student can be an entrepreneur, and how the institute, as an institute, how they can participate in this kind of entrepreneur as well as innovation opportunities. And from a Ministry of Education side, what kind of a help we are going to provide, because we have reviewed so many existing models and come up with an amazing model for the, based on new education policy in order to promote the innovation as well as entrepreneurship. So I'm going to cover those topics, and then I will try to, take things forward. By saying that, I'm sure you all are familiar with various technologies, and just let me know if you can see my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
So basically the thought process is, see, as you are better than anyone else, because you are a faculty, you know better how to teach. Okay, so I want to concentrate on some kind of a unique thing which can add value to your thought process. That is like, with help of the new education policy, we have added one flavor which is missing in our educational system. Because when I was in US, I worked for the US education policy. So I have analyzed more than 18 plus countries' educational policies. And I have created a document and submitted to US government. There, to a company called USAID, which works for US government. So basically, what is happening? What is the fundamental difference between our Indian education system and their education system is innovation and entrepreneurship. I mean, that's a one ingredient which is missing in our educational system. So I would like to focus on that and take things forward. As you know, India is a youthful nation with highly skilled workers. I mean, highly skilled workers. Please keep in mind the workers. And we are technologically enabled. If you go to remote villages in USA, the speed of internet is very slow if you compare with our Indian villages. So technologically, we started, with the 3G. But in various other developed nations, they started with 2G and slowly moved towards 3G. But now we are in a 4G world. And if you go to a small village, also remote village, now the internet speed is very good. And think tank and trust are the key, which we Indians has, all this kind of ingredients to succeed in 21st century. And in last 6 years, we have received more than 310 billion US dollars as a FDI inflows to our country. And I'm happy to share that in COVID pandemic, we have received $74 billion, which is more than 20% than the year before that. So that's the kind of opportunities which are going to get created in our country. So are we ready? I mean, that's the biggest question, because we are keep on generating millions of workers, but we are not generating innovators. We are not generating entrepreneurs. We are not generating who can generate the wealth. So that's where, my concentration area is, and wants to create a knowledge-based society like which we used to have at the time of Nalanda. If you see the kind of technological innovations we used to do those days, our grand generations, they used to measure the distance between stars with help of a smaller devices, which even we can't even understand what it is even in modern society. I mean, we are a well advanced knowledge-based society, and the rest of the world used to come to our country and learn things and move out of our country and created knowledge-based societies in their locations. I mean, now we call them as countries. So they started creating knowledge-based societies, and we as Indians, who were the founding for the entire knowledge-based society, was due to some reason, we became like a factory to generate workers. That's because of our existing education policy, which is pretty good. But the problem is it doesn't have few ingredients which needs. And another thing, it needs to be agile in nature, which is not in place. So now the new education policy made it more agile, so that what I mean by agile is it has a capability of taking an input and fine-tune the policies in a quicker session, so that the implementation will take less time and we give the best to our students as well as faculty and institutes. And as you know, Honorable Prime Minister started Make in India process, and we are receiving investments. If you see the kind of investments which we used to receive a few years back is only on IT, BPM, KPO industries. But the kind of investments now happening is on the auto components, automobiles, aviation, biotechnology, chemicals, construction, defense manufacturing, food processing, IT, BPM, leather, media, entertainment, mining, railways, roads, highways. I'm sure you are seeing 6-lane, 14-lane, amazing, beautiful roads and beautiful supply chain management systems. And we became #1 in the space side. I mean, ISRO is doing amazing things, and the kind of opportunities we are giving to the world from the space point of view is unimaginable. What it really means is we are translating ourselves from a developing nation to a developed nation. So that's where I want to focus and give some thought on it and wants to share my thoughts. So it is going to result a 10 crore direct and 40 crore indirect opportunities by 2024. What a beautiful opportunity for India. And if you see, currently we are the second largest telecom market in the entire world. And the third highest number of internet users. And if you see, the consumer base is 1.4 billion, it's huge. What it really means is you can develop or you can produce a product in our country, in India, and you have a consumption there itself. You have a buyer in India itself. So that kind of an opportunity, that's the reason everyone is moving towards India. And due to COVID pandemic, they lost the confidence on one of the major manufacturing country. and slowly started moving their manufacturing hubs towards us. And another beautiful thing, what happened is that India has become a digital hub. So recently I visited one small village to attend one of my friend's marriage. I mean, it's too small, and when I used to visit that place, I never used to get a proper internet signal. And trust me, I have taken a similar kind of a webinar from that remotest village in India, and I call it as a tribal village, very small with few huts, but beautiful place and beautiful people. But I have realized the kind of a digital penetration happened in our country is just amazing. Anywhere you go, you will have a super, very good internet, facilities. And now we are slowly even moving towards a Wi-Fi 6. We are moving slowly towards 5G technologies. And recently I've read in newspaper, one of the faculty members, she used to work as a faculty, and she moved to US and then returned back to India, and she patented a technology. That technology basically increases your digital penetration and your number of signals your towers can handle. It can increase the number of signals up to 4x. And the first implementation is going to be in India as well as in US. So you can see the innovation started popping up from India, which is really good sign for our entire nation. And it has a 400 billion infrastructure market. It's huge. I mean, trust me, it's huge. And Indian government is investing 111 lakh crores on Indian critical infrastructure. When I say critical infrastructure, like example, food and grocery side, energy sector, example, connecting all the grids. I'm sure UP used to have lots of power cuts, but now you don't have power cut, and you are getting enough electricity because the 6 grids we have in the country, all are got interconnected now. So upgradation of our critical infrastructure is happening from the data and cloud side. I'm sure now you are not getting that buffering thing on the space side, on the education, research, innovation, transportation, beautiful roads across the country. What it really means is you can produce a good, even in Northeast, and you can get the goods, that product anywhere in the country with help of this beautiful, amazing infrastructure which we are developing. Not only from the transportation, when I say transport, not only from the roads, it is from lots of new airports are coming up, and better infrastructure from the railways point of view, communication, water, health point of view. Maybe health we need to thank to COVID, because it completely changed the paradigm shift of our healthcare infrastructure. And slowly we are even upgrading that. And I would like to share one point with you, that the water. I mean, every household will get one water tap where you can drink that water. So drinking water to every household. I mean, trust me, even the developing nations doesn't have such facility. So government is really working on all these critical infrastructures, which is going to create more than 1 crore opportunities only on the critical infrastructure sector itself. And recently, more than 1,000 after COVID pandemic, more than 1,000 foreign manufacturing firms started their production plants in India. I mean, previously what we used to do is we used to repackage the things. But slowly now we are moving everything towards India, and the production itself is started in India. And I'm sure you all know that lots of manufacturing companies are coming in Uttar Pradesh, which is a real good sign. I mean, the size of Uttar Pradesh itself is almost equivalent to the size of USA. I mean, from a population point of view, it's a huge, right? So what it really means is, the minute we started developing our states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, etc., the entire country GDP will increase, the employment opportunity will increase. So lots of countries like USA, Japan, France, Germany, Singapore, Israel, they all are coming to our country and doing an investment. But what kind of investments we are talking about? What we did an analysis on the entire globe and try to understand, what opportunities we are going to receive. So first one is Industry 4.0. Lots of manufacturing companies are coming up in the world. I mean, with the new technology, because now As please keep in mind that the second generation industry and third generation industries no more exist. Now everything is purely based on industry 4.0 kind of a technologies. So the augmented reality, big data, predictive analysis, cloud computing. So everything is becoming a digital. So I call it as a digital globe. Because now previously it used to take a lot of time to send a message from one place to another place, and we used to use pigeons, and slowly we move towards Morse code, and slowly we move towards these digits called 1 and 0. We used to send the digits, and slowly the kind of a capacity on the digital medium got increased. And after this Wi-Fi 6 and IP6 is what we call the technologies, as well as 5G. I'm sure the kind of the change we see in this world is just simply amazing. You can be virtually anywhere with help of AR and VR. So understanding these requirements across the globe is very important. So the industry 4.0 itself is going to create 9 crore job opportunities by 2025 in our country itself. And additive manufacturing, cyber security. Cyber security is another huge opportunity for every Indian, because every industry who is going to do a transaction, a cyber security professional. And just for your information, by 2021, end of 2021, the entire globe needs 35 lakh cyber security professionals. So imagine the kind of opportunity. So I request you to do lots of innovation and research on cyber security and grab this opportunity. It's a huge business opportunity for every Indian institute. And automobile is another sector where 1.5 crore job opportunities are going to get created within India, because the internet of vehicles. Because previously, if you see the kind of vehicles we used to have, those are mechanical in nature, but now it is completely a digital beast, in front of you. And talking with various other devices with help of the smart sensors and with help of this advanced technology called V2V and V2I, and electrification of cars also became very well advanced. What I really see is we are going to scrap these old automotive based vehicles and move towards a digitally automotive based vehicles, and maybe more towards a solar or solar energy based dependent vehicles. So there again, the blockchain as well as augmented reality, big data. If something happens to your car, it is immediately sending the information to a nearest tower, and that tower basically sends that information to a nearest showroom and support center. So this is kind of an opportunities we can see not only in India, across the world. And the financial services, anyways, we are pretty good in the financial services from day one and from the service industry point of view, but a mobile-based financial services and open banking APIs. And previously, I'm sure you see lots of ATMs in India. We have more than 5 crore ATMs. But the ATMs used to develop in Taiwan or in China. So now slowly we moved the manufacturing of those devices, the physical devices got moved towards India. And we are not only developing the artificial intelligence, blockchain, and on top of it, and the mobile-based UI applications, we are even developing those physical entities and connecting both together and manufacturing, producing, and selling it into the entire globe. So this is again another amazing opportunity. So I'm trying to open up, all these opportunities to you so that you can start your own company by doing your existing job as it is. So the biotech is another opportunity. We estimated 50 lakh opportunities by 2025. Biosensors, mixed reality. Nowadays, the kind of operations are happening on an AR, VR mode. One of my friend doctor told me that they are doing an operation on a virtual mode first and checking, whether they are connecting to the right nerve or not. That kind of advanced technology is what we are talking about in our country. And the nanomedicine, synthetic biology, metabolic engineering, 3D printing, gene editing, and tissue engineering. You see, we are moving towards the next level altogether and keeping all these developing nations behind. and we are moving to become a superpower, the Vishwaguru, that is what we call in our Indian nomenclature. So along with that, the food technology is another area, where we have lots of opportunities, because artificial proteins are coming. Food safety is another thing. Food wastage, how we can reduce the food wastage, and personalized nutrition. See, till now we are giving a nutrition across the country in a same manner, but every human, every individual is different in nature. That's the reason we exist as a separate human beings. So personalized nutrition is very, very important. So we are going to take some inputs from the user, from the mother as well as from the child, and we give a personalized nutrition. So imagine a kind of an opportunities it will create. And healthcare, I'm sure you already know about the healthcare scene because of COVID, so I'm not going to touch this more. But one thing, Internet of Medical Things is really emerging. And energy is another sector where we have the smart meters now, microgridding and renewable energy. We became a world's second largest renewable energy producers. But I'm not happy, we need to be on first. So we are working a lot. The government is working a lot on that, as well as on the storage side. Our storage of energy is increased. And the telecommunication, agri-technology is another area where the virtual network function virtualization and IoT and M2M technologies are going to take the entire thing like generation mobile networks like 5G. So this is the kind of opportunities we are talking about. And what Indian government did is it started giving the production linked incentive schemes. So what it really means is the more you produce, the more incentives you receive. This is the one fundamental difference what the government did. But now I will come back to, now I'm sure you understood the opportunities exist in this world as well as in India. But now I will come back to our education side. So the overall, we will see 50 crore plus opportunities by 2025. It's a direct and indirect opportunities for job seekers, for students, for entrepreneurs, for researchers. Are students and faculty ready? This is the biggest question, because see, unless until we have the students and faculty ready, India can't be a Vishwaguru. So we have identified emerging areas and 55 emerging areas and 55 job roles and 155 skills. We have initially identified saying that these are the areas, where we need to concentrate, so that the faculty can take things to a next level, which I will explain it in further slides, like in artificial intelligence, business intelligence, 5G, cloud, IoT, cyber security, RPA, web mobile applications, virtual reality, blockchain, 3D printing. Because please keep in mind the globe is becoming a digital globe. So we are concentrating more on the digital entity so that we can capture the digital entity. Then in 1960s, if you all remember, India and China, we both used to be on the same level from the GDP point of view. But they have taken that steps. They have identified what to do for next 10 to 15 years. And they moved ahead. And we were just going in a plain way. I think now it's a time for India to take things forward. So that's what resulted the entire national education policy. What we did was we understood the requirements from the industry. And using advanced technologies now, I'm sure you are seeing better technological innovations from Ministry of Education, and fine-tuning educational policies by upskilling and skilling students for their better future. So if you note it down, the industry, right? So this is one ingredient is very, very important, because every industry has a requirement. But unfortunately, in our country, the entrepreneurs are very, very less. And fear of failure, because in society, the minute you fail, the entire society will start opposing you. They will question you. So fear of failure is very, very high. So that's where I see only the 5%, the lowest rate in the world, while the business discontinuity rate in India is highest, 26.4%. And the unfortunate thing is only 13% of women entrepreneurs exist. Very, very small number. I think these numbers needs to be improved. So what we did, we started churning this entire process. Then we realized, the education, the research and entrepreneurship. I think these three needs to go together, so that not only the industry will fulfill their requirements, but the students will gain an experience. they will start creating companies. And another beautiful thing, what we realized is our faculty has amazing capabilities. Because when I did my MBA from Maryland University, then I moved to Stanford. I was there doing research on MIT. I have seen most of the faculties from India. So that's a beautiful thing. We as an Indians, we are pretty good in education. I mean, we are very good in sharing knowledge, acquiring knowledge. But when we are, moving towards implementing it, that's where we are lagging. I mean, I'm not saying we are completely lagging, but we need to give a push so that we will go to an orbit and start revolving around entrepreneurship. So that's where we started thinking and connected all these three entities together in one place. That's nothing but a new education policy, the education, research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So we started identifying what kind of areas which we need to identify and start explaining to all the faculty as well as students. The business opportunity identification, because see, India is a kind of a country, you will get amazing business opportunities. You can, if the minute you started writing 20 industrial problems, which you see on a daily basis, I think that itself is more than enough to understand the business opportunity. And then the business plan preparation, we are going to help, how to do it. And we are going to help you on the marketing, branding, and digital footprinting. And establishing and managing a new enterprise, because a lot of faculty and students don't know how to start an enterprise. Sorry. So we are ready to help, and we are ready to help you on building a team, doing a risk analysis and mitigation, how to mitigate a risk, and how to pitch the business idea, because very, very important. It's called elevator pitch. You need to convince someone within a minute. So how you will do it? And intellectual property, because lots of what we observe is our faculty is doing lots of research, but they are not doing patenting to it. So we are even added that how to do a intellectual property rights, how to do a patenting and exit strategy, how you can exit from it. Because see, what is happening is, even though they are starting something, but they don't know how to exit from it. See, you need to understand you as a faculty now become an entrepreneur, to involve the efforts to transform an individual academic expertise and research results into intellectual property marketable commodity. What it really means, which can be sold. So you are creating, translating or converting a industry problem, you are converting that into a successful business model. So you need to understand when to enter and when to exit. So we are going to help you on that. And economical development, so basically it is not only on the enhancing the faculty income, it's about a professional status, it's about a better opportunities. So we want everyone to involve, but how a faculty who is sitting inside a college can do all this? So that's where we started creating something called a commercial borrowing. So if you hear in the previous budget, the Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman mentioned very clearly about commercial borrowings in educational systems. What it really means? It means the colleges can receive investments to improve their infrastructure with respect to startup ecosystem, to build up a startup ecosystem in your institute for innovation, to create a center of excellence, to create a research labs. So basically, the using the commercial borrowing, you can borrow the investment, from a foreign entities for very less percentage of interest. So the infrastructural side, your college already have an infrastructure which you can utilize, and with help of these commercial borrowings from external entities for very less percentage of interest, you can set up a startup ecosystem, innovation, center of excellence and research. If that's not the case, then what you can do is you can have a tie-up with any nearby industries as well as to the companies. Because recently I visited a few colleges, I was amazed the kind of things what they're doing. I mean, they are literally, well advanced, and because they started utilizing something called these commercial borrowings and started improving their infrastructure. And the institute also involved in this entrepreneurship process, because see, the entrepreneurship is all about increasing your profits, right? So this is a right opportunity. So how we as a government of India, education ministry, can help you? We have a cell called Innovation Cell, I'm sure you all know. So we have created something called Yukti. Okay, what this Yukti does is, if you have any idea and your institute, faculty and students, all three was to involve and start doing a business, we are ready to help. So these are the various innovations you see here, are already in place. And these are I think we have received more than 19,955 plus submissions. And these are the different states. Example, Uttar Pradesh, we received 1,373 applications. But I will share what we basically, on what format, how do we support. See, we will connect you, we will teach you how to do pitching. Because what happens, even though you have an amazing research paper and you may have a model which can be produced in front of investors, but investors always see things from a return of investment point of view. If I invest X, how many X plus is what I will receive. They even not do plus, they will do multiply. They are looking for 10x or 20x, or maybe if some people are very greedy, they will look for 100x. I mean, if they invest 1 rupee, they are expecting 100 rupees from you. So we will teach you how to pitch to these investors and how to network, in different events as well as different platforms for businesses. And we will give you an opportunity to browse through the database where you can look into all this information. We will give you the opportunity to connect to the nearest incubator accelerator. And please keep in mind, the students have an amazing ideas nowadays, and they are well advancedly accepted technological human beings. So I think it's better the faculty can be, they may have an idea, but they can be partner with their students itself. And at the same time, the institute, the universities can be partner with the faculty. I think this is a beautiful model. Nowhere it exists. So now we started creating this model and started giving lots of support. And another thing is finding an overlapping innovations, because a lot of time what happens, you will come up with something which you think is unique in nature, but it may already exist somewhere. So we will connect you with the teams so that you both can work together. Because I mean, if you see the kind of a percentage of stake the Infosys Narayan Murthy hold is only 4%. He is very smart, because the better team he has, that 4% will become 1000x, 1000 rupees, if you are investing 1 rupees. So you need a better team. So we will connect you with the existing already overlapping innovations, overlapping teams, and we will do a funding support also. It is not only that, we will just connect. We will support you on the funding, because there is a process called due diligence. So when you put up your thought process, your innovation or / idea to an investors, they will do something called due diligence, and they will do a valuation of your product. So we are going to help you on how to get a better due diligence for your innovation. And if you wants to go in an international way, we are ready to help to expose you on an international way. We will take you to that particular level, and we have lots of events coming up where we can showcase your innovations and your ideas. And we are going to connect you with mentors, industry experts, and lots of mentorship team, so that they will give you a better ideas and better opportunities. And what are kind of sectors we are talking about? I mean, you can connect to any kind of a sector. Maybe I will just sectors of innovation. So mining, mobility, sports, you name it, technology side, transportation, hospitality, water, sanitation, waste management, herbal formation, aerospace, aviation, agriculture, chemicals, clean tech, consumer goods, conventional energy, defense and security, education, electronics and IoT, fashion and technology, healthcare and pharma, information and communication technologies, infrastructure side, manufacturing. So we have huge opportunities. As I said, see, this is basically getting connected with the Make in India process, because what we strongly feel that India needs such kind of a interconnected innovation. So see, previously every institute in an individual isolated manner, and now slowly we are trying to interconnect, with help of technology, so that we are creating a virtual labs, and we are going to translate all the books into a local languages, so that the student can gain better knowledge. See, the minute we translate the books to a local language, then the student understanding of that subject will increase, and you can have as a second reference. So we are working on all that, and we are using advanced technologies and artificial intelligence. We are using deep learning. I mean, Minister of Education is no more a policy making ministry. We are an advanced technological company, wants to give only the best to our students, faculty, and institutes. So that's where, if you see the kind of a approval process we did this year, if you notice, everything is went to technological innovation. Everything is on the technology side. We never visited your colleges, right? You only just showed us the video, and we have reviewed everything online, and we have recorded, we have created a software which identifies the objects within that particular video which you have sent. So we are moving towards advanced technologies. Even for everyone's information, we have measured the area of your institute using satellites, and that to an Indian satellite. So see, the kind of a technological advancement we are talking about, I think this is a right opportunity for every faculty and every institute to come together, work as a team, and take things forward. So see, it's not only betterment of your institute as well as an individual as you, but it is good for our country also. So this is what I thought of sharing, because I know on the other areas, you are better than me. So I don't need to teach you anything, because you already know, and this is a 5 days program. Lots of experts will come and try to cover the rest of the areas. But my thought process is to give something very unique in nature, and wants to encourage somewhere, where no Indian institutes have ever been. So why only IITs enjoy this? Why not every institute in our country? So that's the thought process. Let every institute will involve and become like a business center. See, when I did my MBA from Maryland University, morning times I used to go to college, and afternoon times I used to sit in incubation center of excellence, and we started our own startup, and I sold 2 startups. So because see, the risk will got mitigated already, because you have 3 major stakeholders. One is your institute, the second one is your faculty, the third one is your students. So the risk is already mitigated, and you already have an infrastructure in place. You have a place, you have an office in place. I think you have everything along with the knowledge, so that's where I think I request everyone to concentrate and try to take things forward. And for any kind of a help, you feel free to contact us. See, we are ready. As I said, we are agile in nature now. If you see something good, we will immediately try to adopt. And I'm sure you know something called NEET, which we have created. NEET is another entity where we are doing personalized and adaptive learning. So I request you all to go through something called NEET, NEAT, NEET. If you search NEET AICT, you will get it. And we have another resource. Maybe I will just quickly share my screen once again. I want to show this to you all, because we have some other placeholder called free.AICT. So I'm happy to share this particular location. Here you will get every digital entity for free of cost. So if you see, the Coursera is giving some courses for free of cost. Ethical hacking, SQL injection attack is free. I mean, every course is free here. Okay, you can learn SAN, NAS storage. You can learn from yoga to music to high-tech technologies here for free of cost. Python for beginners. If you see, the Microsoft is giving away 1,800 courses. If you finish the Microsoft courses and certification, the basic salary is 1,50,000 rupees. So all those courses are free here. If you click here on the Microsoft Learn courses, you will see all these 1800 courses in this page. So this is again another area, where we request every student and faculty to go through, because we want you to improve your knowledge and be ready for industry. And you have amazing courses. I mean, you name it, we have it here. And I'm happy to share that we have given more than 450 crore worth of digital content for free of cost to students. But now I will slowly move towards other angles. See, every student is unique in nature, so they need a personalized and customized learning so that they can understand things better. So that's where we have created something called the personalized learning platform. It's called NEET, neet.aact-india.org. So if you go here, you will see various company courses. All these courses are well-known, well-vetted courses. So this is the website. You please go through. I request you all go through. This has an amazing, well-advanced, personalized and customized learning opportunities for our students as well as faculty. As we are doing lots of faculty development programs, I request everyone, please go through these modules also. It will help you to understand the advanced technologies better. And even we have yoga, meditation courses also, which is very, very useful for you, because now student has more teachers. Because previously we used to have only one teacher who used to be in front of the board, right? Now the problem is we have Google as one teacher, learning management systems, blogs, YouTube. I mean, the student is acquiring more knowledge and they are throwing up challenging questions. So that's where now we are slowly creating a research repository for faculty, so that they can get more better knowledge and they can answer the queries from the students' side, and they can also acquire knowledge and the research. So that's what I have from my side. So if you have any questions or concerns or anything, you please let me know. I will try my best to answer. Thank you for giving this opportunity. And I'm sure, I just went out of the box, and because, when I received this invitation, I requested them saying that, see, I'm sure you know few things better than me, because I recently jumped into this. But I strongly feel something we need to do for this country, which is helpful not only to the institutes and faculty, to the entire student society itself. So working together is very, very important, very important. So working together is one thing, which is really missing. If you see, we are creating something called number one, number two ranks. God knows what it really means. It has no meaning at all unless until you practically do it. So that's where maybe I will quickly, sorry, I will share my screen once again. Maybe I just forgot one more thing. It's very interesting. I will love to share. So we have created something called internship.act portal. Here, the thought process is we want to give 1 crore internship opportunities to our students. Of course, faculty can also apply. So this is the beautiful website we have created. And if you go through the internship opportunities available here, from the Urban Development Ministry, we have more than 40,000 opportunities, 39,000 opportunities from Social Justice Ministry, 20,000 from Cisco, 15,000 from Amrut Urban Water Infrastructure, 5,000 from National Highways. We have lakhs of opportunities from corporate internships, 1 lakh opportunity for oil and gas and aerospace. I mean, see, I'm sure you understood that we are going out of the box, and we want our students and faculty to experience this kind of a models. When I say example oil and gas, we want you to learn everything related to oil and gas in a real way, in an experimental way. So we have contacted and convinced more than 8 different oil and gas companies. And we requested them to create a consortium and provide internship opportunities to our students. Example, I will just quickly show you what kind of opportunities you have in, petroleum industry side. I think the website is down. They have opportunities on on measuring the oil and the oil rigs. I mean, they have amazing opportunities on that side, and they are doing pretty good. And another opportunity is on the aerospace side. Example, if you see this website, are you able to see my screen? Hello?
Yes,
sir.
visible.
So this is the one of the company who remodels the aircrafts. So imagine our students, faculty is working on aircraft designing, engineering, remodeling. So they basically remodel the entire aircraft. They do a re-engineering of aircraft. They do a aircraft management. Do you see all this, right? So amazing company. I mean, they have amazing softwares which can be used and learned by our students and faculty by sitting in your institutes itself. So I request every student and faculty to go through this portal called internship.act-india.org. And here we am happy to share that we have more than 3 lakh internship opportunities are already posted and active. And every city is listed. So you can click on your particular city and see what opportunities are available. And just I want to inform you one thing. This was developed by students. So I architected, I trained them, and they are the ones who developed it. Why we have taken, and that too we have taken students from small remote villages, because we want to show the capabilities of our students. We want to showcase the strength of our students. We want to showcase the technological strength of our students. We want to showcase the dedication of our students. We want to make sure that the student from our small remote village has a capability of better than any developing country student. Even I have seen, even I met a lot of people in MIT, I have seen our students are more brilliant than them. The only thing lacking is a teamwork. So if you see in this page, I loaded 48,000 internship opportunities in one shot, and this page loaded in 11 seconds. That kind of a speed, that kind of a opportunity, that kind of a technology we have using, and we have scaled out this entire platform to handle 1 billion transactions, 1 billion. And we are coming up with internship opportunities from Indian Railways. I mean, 10 lakh internship opportunities for students and faculty from every railway zone in India. Every railway zone, you name it, we have it. So see, these are the kind of things are happening, and we are working very hard. And we are trying our best to give the best, only the best to our students and faculty and institutes. So this is the thought process, what I thought of sharing with all of you. And I know this, faculty development programs are always interesting. And once I attended all 5 days, it was amazing. I learnt a lot. And then I realized, I think, not only giving knowledge to the students, it is very important to empower our faculty. I think that's what we are doing with these faculty development programs. And about the accreditation and all, maybe experts will come and give you more details. So this is what I have, and I would like to thank everyone. And if you have any inputs, feel free to share. And please be in touch. And if you have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar. It was a very nice presentation and a deep insight that you shared with us. Since you are in the policy making domain, I would like to know how to take these benefits of the emerging technologies, especially in the field of education, to the rural areas that is marred with poor connectivity and all that. So what is the government's plan regarding this?
Sorry, sir, you need to repeat the question. I got disconnected.
Actually, I want to know that how to take these benefits of the emerging technologies to the rural areas, which is marred with the poor connectivity and all that. And since you are in the policy making domain, so it would be better to be answered by you, sir.
Yes. See what the Indian government is doing is, one is recently, as I said, there is something called microwave technology, right? To transfer the signal, the electronic signal from one place to another place. So the penetration is a bit slow on the rural side. So now they are improving. They are upgrading that with the recently patented technology by an Indian. So that's going to be a game changer. The second thing is, we are translating all our books to local languages. Example, you may have an amazing book in English from electronics engineering. And then slowly we are taking that book and we are translating that book into Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, and Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, Assamese. Sorry, not in Assamese as of now, in Oriya. So what it really means is, the student from remote villages, they can basically learn the advanced technologies in the local languages. The third thing is the 5G technologies, the IoT based 5G technologies. See, the pricing of the internet is getting drastically reduced. So what is happening is everyone is started utilizing. Even in the COVID pandemic, I have observed when I visited a small villages, because see, I always see things from an opposite side. I go to a small remote village and to see how they are adopting the technology. So I have seen they're not only adopting the technology, they are peeping into the students, the children's learning classes, and they're trying to peep in and see, what their children is doing. I mean, see, slowly the adaptation, accepting the change itself is the biggest challenge in our country. But slowly people started accepting. And the digitization of the entire country is happening in a rapid phase. In order to get the digitization, first you need electricity. So now we interconnected all the grids. So 24/7 electricity is available across the country now. Maybe few shortages here and there, but those are called trippings. But other than trips, the electricity is available and the quality of electricity is also increased. And if you see, the supply chain management is
Buddha sir, you are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, I was on mute till now.
Yeah, for a few seconds only, no problem. Wonderful listening to you.
Yeah. So, I think it's our responsibility also to me on mute. I think it's very important for us as an individual also to go and teach these advanced technologies to our students from villages. Because why I strongly believe that we need to, the minute we enable and empower our villages, what happens? The industries will move towards villages. The minute industries move towards villages, the employment of our villages will increase, because anyways we have employment opportunities in our overcrowded cities. Now if you take the cities, our cities has a capacity of holding less than 10 lakh citizens. But the kind of a number we have in cities is more than 25 lakhs. I mean, it's what it really means. It's overcrowded, right? We are expanding our cities, but how far you can expand? So the better you empower your village, I think that will basically empower your entire country. And that's where the government is concentrating and empowering the 6 lakh villages. And trust me, now even we are doing few things on the scholarship side also. Previously, we used to give scholarship money to state governments, and they used to divert that money to some other schemes. So now we are changing that and giving a direct benefit transfer directly to the student from the next quarter. So what it really means is the student who has a bank account. See, that's where the bank account thing started. So now the student who has a bank account and Aadhaar enabled and authenticated will receive their scholarship directly to their account itself. And the number of scholarships which we used to give was increased. Now we are going to give 7 crore scholarships. I mean, this is from a social justice ministry point of view. I'm talking about SC, ST, and OBC, and various other, DNT and NT kind of tribes. But the number of scholarships was increased. What it really means is, we are encouraging more people from the smaller villages and tribal areas. We want them to learn. We want them to learn advanced technologies. We want them to get empowered with the technological innovations. So that's where we need your help, because we all need to work together on it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to Ankur.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful uh, talk. Now, may I request each and every participant, if you have any queries from your side, you can have your queries. Otherwise, we'll wind up this fantastic session by Dr. Buddha Chandrasekhar, sir. Any queries?
But
Okay.
I have one last request from my side. See,
Yeah, sure.
for next week or so, you go and identify, maybe if you are in city, you go and identify people from slums. Try to teach them technology. I mean, trust me, the minute they understand the technology, they will come out of the poverty. They will try to adopt it and teach them how they can access our free resources, available from anywhere, from anywhere, so that they will start learning. I think the minute we empower them, our entire country will get empowered.
Very true, sir. Very true.
Thank you, sir. So
Ankur,
now may I
if I could
request?
ask one question, excuse me.
Yeah,
Dr.
sure,
Ankur,
ma'am. Sure,
if I
sure,
could
sure.
ask.
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Chandrasekhar, wonderful presentation. The way you enriched and enlightened the ambitious plans of Government of India really calls for high appreciation. I just have one question. Listening to you for this half an hour, I was just sailing in the thoughts what can really come in the times to come, especially 2025. Could you please highlight on agility of the teachers from Indian higher education sector? You have such diverse experience abroad, particularly US. When you see here, what are the opportunities and challenges you see in Indian higher education, particularly from teaching fraternity? Please, it will be great help to me. Please.
Madam, let me be very frank with you. The only limit is your thought process. Because see, why teachers thinking that they are only meant to teaching? That's the problem.
Yes.
See, they are not only meant to teach. They can be an entrepreneurs. They can be a researchers. They can do a patenting. Do you know the patent percentage in our country is less than 1.2%? I mean, how we can become a superpower? I mean, forget about someone else. You yourself can earn billions of dollars. And why our teachers are not utilizing? Because I have seen lots of professors who is earning millions on a monthly basis just because they patented. See, the
Yes,
patenting, researching, and the entrepreneurship has so much energy in it. And imagine you are creating something which is very useful to our senior citizens itself. Do you know the number of senior citizens we have in our country is 18 crores? I mean, huge number. It's almost like more than 50% of the US population. We are talking about huge numbers. And our customers base is in our country itself. See, the understanding the surroundings and identifying the industry problems needs to be a key for every teacher. The minute they understand and they connect, see, you need to go out of out of the university thought process. If you are only thinking that I will teach something which is there in the books, I think that's a thought process is basically restricting. But I have seen officers who moved out of our country. I mean, obviously, a lot of professors in our country. Example, one professor I have seen from IIT Mumbai. Energy Swaraj, right? He created a bus with solar energy and renewable energy, and he is taking rounds and to the entire country. So I have seen people who can do it, and trust me, the kind of a patents he have. I think he told me that he has more than 56 or 60 patents. I mean, see, I think that is what we need to take ourselves forward. And by the way, you can be a professor, you can be in a teaching field, and you can have patent. You can be a professor without leaving your job, and you can sit in your institute and do a research and identify the industry problems with help of Google and various other areas, and try to connect nearby industries. I think that is more than enough to understand. I mean, why don't we come up with something which can create drinking water? Because in India, the upcoming future problem is drinking water. Because we don't have proper drinking water. The water is already, it's not worth for drinking, and we are purchasing water now, right? Now we are filling the bottles and purchasing. Why don't the teachers from our country will innovate a method which can produce and which can filter all these unwanted ingredients and create drinking water, so that our remote villages, tribal villages will get an opportunity to drink drinking water facility. I think there's lots of opportunities I see. The only limit is our thought process. And I think we need to come out of that kind of a thought process. And I have seen is the minute they come out of thought process, no one can compete with our Indian teachers, because I have seen their power. Even in US also, our teachers, our faculty, our professors, our researchers are dominating. In Microsoft, we have more than 35% Indians.
So is in
And
NASA, absolutely.
NASA, we have. If you go to iPhone, I mean, every company from Google to every company, we are the one who is dominating. What it really means is there, the knowledge, out of the box thinking is there in our Indian blood, in our Indian, thought process. The only thing is we shut the doors. I think we need to open up the doors and take it forward, take the risk. But see, when you are taking a risk, the big fundamental thing in the project management is I'm PMP certified. So the thing is you need to mitigate your risk. How you will mitigate your risk? By involving as a stakeholders of your institute as well as your students. So your students is not going to get paid. So what you will do is you will receive n number of students as your team members, and you already mitigated this because you're not investing any money on it. See, you need to utilize the opportunities and the existing infrastructure and resources available to you. So that's what you need to do. I think out of the box is what is a mantra for every teacher.
Well said, sir.
Faculty.
Perhaps the policy ecosystem also has a role to play. So now with the ambitious plans what government is rolling,
why should
I'm
sure they be a knowledge-based society? See, you are creating knowledge. For researching, we are investing 50. So imagine the kind of opportunities we are going to be a researcher, innovator, and entrepreneur. So you select, which one you feel is correct for you, and based on that, they can take things forward.
Well said, sir. Thank you. I was just saying that the policy ecosystem also has a huge thing to play. And now with the government's things changing, I'm sure, sir, fraternity also will adapt to the opportunities and pick up, as you told, out of the box. I feel very confident on teaching community. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Now, may I request Mr. Sachidanand Chaturvedi, the coordinator of this FDP, to give a vote of thanks for this wonderful session to Dr. Buddha Chandrasekhar, sir.
Thank you, Ankur. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ankur Kumar. I'd like to take the opportunity to place a record of a hearty big thank you to Mr. Buddha Chandrasekhar, Chief Coordinating Officer, AICT, Ministry of Education, for his effort to present the topic innovation entrepreneurship, in which we get an enlightenment for the opportunity which is lying inside our country through our digital world. We came across that we are getting a digital transformation from 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G, and many scientists are jumping in the patent process for growing it much deeper within the rural area, and for the people how will they get the maximum speed and for their enhancements in their approach of their working. Sir also give us light how the innovation can come with the integration with our integration with the modern approaches as well as our core needs. We are right now slowly we are getting through the journey from the product repackaging to the product re-innovation, and here he also gave us an example how in the Department of Electricity, roads, airports, railways, health, communication, and how we are slowly upgrading ourselves in this critical infrastructure. I was amused by getting to know that about the content of the manufacturing of ATM as well as doing in our country in the last few years. So just to know about that, the developing of the physical entities which we are using is also doing. It's also in the process of manufacturing in our country. It is a great sense of the pride. Now, just to push faculty like us, he has given us the various routes to travel like blockchain, biosensors, big data, nano machine, medicines, mixed reality, food safety, IoT, personalized nutrition, food, robotics, healthcare, renewable energy, and many more. He just gives us an opportunity door in which door we can upgrade ourselves by we have some inherent capability of the sharing and acquiring knowledge, but yes, we should understand and accept it gracefully. We lack in implementing our knowledge. So how we will able to upgrade ourselves in the new education policy through where the research, education, skill, and industry will collaborate in the for our goal to get a better future. And for this, he gave a path how can a research can be patented, and then it will turn to the intellectual property right, and how we can able to get a marketable commodity from that patent, and it will prosper the economic development of the individual as well as the system in which he is working, as well as the society as well, and enhancing the income of all the connected peoples. For this, how our ministry is working, how the government having a thought process of giving the commercial ground, borrowing to our startup ecosystem, by pushing the innovation center of excellence through his EPT program. And it's great to know that a person sitting out there is also going to help us in pitching, networking, and getting the database for the people working in the same area, connecting us to the nearest incubator centers, and finding the overlapping innovations in the fields, and as well as the supports of the various dimensions, from which we are able to present our thought and product innovation in the present for the investors with due diligence, and from which the innovation can be done. For assistance of this, when I came across about this, I hadn't known about this website link, but for mentioning this in this part was also very enlightening, that how I can able to get a free course on the free AICT India.org, and institute faculty and student can coordinate that and to upgrade their knowledge. How at me.actindia.org as well. How can faculty also do the internship for his enhancement? It was very enlightening, sir. Sir, I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for your explanation. Thank you. Here, I must also like to express our sincere thanks to our chairman, director HR for their excellent coverage and time. I also want to extend my thanks to our speaker, coming speaker, Dr. N. Guru Prasad, sir, for his enormous cooperation in the organization of this event. Well, I must emphasize, ladies and gentlemen, an event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling weeks ago. It requires planning and bird-eye view for the details. We have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues of the Buddha Institute of Technology, who knows their job and are results-oriented. Thanks for your willingness. I hope we will work as a team and make this event successful. Thank you, sir, and thank you everyone for your kind presence. Thank you, and we will get back to Ankur for the further explanation. Thank you, sir.
I
Thank you,
thank Buddha
Satyanarayana,
Institute
sir.
of Technology management, faculty, and students. I wish best of luck to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So in this way, we wind up the inaugural session of 5-day FDP on OBE and NB accreditation. So we'll start with the technical session. The first session will be at 11:30 a.m. That session will be preceded by Dr. Guru Prasad sir and Guru Prasad sir. Now, may I request each and every participant to join the WhatsApp group through the link which have been forwarded by the email of incubation cell of BIT, and then every further communication will be done through the WhatsApp group. Now we'll have the technical session at 11:30 a.m. So please join at 11:20 a.m. so that we can start on time. Thank you so much. We'll meet on 11:30. We'll meet at 11:30 a.m. with you all. Thank you.